Hi everyone, I'm Airier, and today we are going to be looking at something that is apparently real. This is the, and yes, I am surprised to say this, 9th edition trailer for Warhammer 40K. It's been 3 years since the 8th edition came out, and to summarize how that went, Games Workshop, the creators of Warhammer 40K, took a bomb and blew up their own game. And then made something that was more streamlined and booted the previous rule set to a different edition, which they sold for more money and actually is not technically theirs, but they make money from. Yeah, Forge World's the thing. Right now, we're going to be jumping into the trailer they released for what's going to be 9th edition. When it's going to be 9th edition, I don't know. They haven't said so, but in one of their tongue-in-cheek, note the press releases, they did say it's going to be within a few weeks. Maybe. And by maybe, I mean, due to current world circumstances, we'll be lucky if it's this year. That's meant as a joke, but yeah. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to jump in, and I'm just going to go through the trailer, because I've already seen it, and I've had a lot of things I need to say about this, because there's some very interesting concepts they brought up in the trailer. For the most part, it looks pretty standard, pretty staid, but there's a lot of things I need to talk about because they hit a few little details in there that, from a narrative standpoint, are absolutely beautiful. I just want to run through it so everyone can see what's going on. I'm going to keep my face in the corner because it'd be weird not to.
In the darkness between the stars.
So they're still going with the Sigmarite hammer. Although I still want to pretend it's a thunder hammer because of the lightning. But that's just my own little thing. Dropping into the city. The death rays of deathiness. And guardsmen dying. What a surprise. Love this detail right here. I want to come back to this specifically.
We are raised to believe that the God
and they're showing the sisters, which, if you had told anyone about this 2 years ago, that the sisters would be in a major trailer for Warhammer, they would have thought you were pulling their leg. And by pulling their leg, I mean taking a bolt or two, because there's no way 40K would ever support them again. Games Workshop has abandoned the sisters. And then the sisters actually came back, so that's a thing now. Also, if you said the same thing about the Necrons, yeah, no one would believe it. Sisters v Necrons.
Even in the face of death.
Now, there's a lot I want to say specifically about this scene. Again, it's one thing I want to say for when we're going to have more time to talk through it. But do remember that part right there. Now, right here where she's healing her damaged hand, this is something I've seen a lot of people pay attention to, and for good reason, but it's more...
Faith.
There's so many things I want to say. Just the showing of viable faith in the Emperor as having a real-life effect, rather than the usual faith in the Emperor, but really it's the Chaos Gods. Yeah, I'm just going to say that now because that's basically all you can say there. This looks cool. The fact that they didn't do anything also shows
the Emperor sends forth.
Not useless, but also not helpful. Freaking chainsword, though. Yeet. She literally cut its neck off. And the head, too, but we'll go with that. And now they switch narrators.
Our Imperium is besieged.
Love the voice they gave him.
Across 1,000
It's not like that super gruff in-armor reverberation. It sounds like an actual gruff,
down our legion.
Just deep voice.
Our forces
tired of all this shit, but I'm gonna fight through it.
Our enemies
Style voice.
many.
Great choice.
There is no respite. There is no mercy.
Still need to do something with the
And in our darkest
This
hour,
is just one
a
of the coolest fight
spiteful
scenes I've seen
universe
from War.
awakens forgotten evils to break us.
Almost on par with the stuff Astartes did. And by that I mean the channel with his frames. And the sisters are actually still useful in a fight. Noise.
The galaxy
That little nod.
burns. Yet still we stand, the last bulwark against the terror. And while we draw breath, we will fight.
Seriously, I love how they're
For in
really
this
playing up the
new
change. It's
dark
just
age,
so... Now this is beautiful.
There is only war.
And the new logo. Not my favorite, but honestly, I like it more than the first logo. All right, now we're going to go back to the beginning of this. There's some things I really want to talk about. Now, that was the overall trailer, despite me talking over it because I'm an idiot, but that's just me. There's a few things, a few narrative aspects that need to be pointed out. Now, most people, they're all talking about this part right here where she heals her hand. It's showing visible aspects of faith. And honestly, yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Because before, faith in the Emperor is a thing, but it's mostly technology. This, it's showing a viable reason to have faith, which technically has always been a thing, but it's been more of a kind of a joke because it did nothing. And then Sisters of Battles came out. Gilliman is slowly becoming a believer in the faith, which it depends on who's writing him at the time. But it seems like overall they're mostly trending in that direction. There's a lot of actual viable reasoning to believe in the Emperor as a god in Warhammer. And this is one of the moments because you can see just in the act of faith alone, because she has it, it heals the hand. And you could see as it changed from green as it's burning up to red. That's a beautiful little section because it shows the viable aspect of the entire Sisters range as being those touched by the Emperor who have a viable reaction to him, showing that faith has value. It's not just bolters. It's mostly bolters, but faith has a viable, real game effect. That's beautiful. I love it. That's not what I want to focus on. This is what I want to focus on, right here. When you're seeing the different people get shot down in the basic guard, and it's the guard. They got flashlights, and honestly, their flashlights look pretty cool, but you expect nothing out of them except to die. And then they do, horrifically. This right here, taken in slow motion, this is legitimately hard to watch. You can see the pain, you can see the anguish, you can see them falling, and you can even see it as their faceplate has already dissolved. They're already dead at this point. There is nothing left of them. They're already boned. The skin is gone. The bone is gone. And what really makes this interesting is that this entire sequence, it is very much intentionally a throwback, like most of the Necrons are, not just to the entire horror aspect, but specifically to, I forgot the name of the movie. I'm thinking of the Tom Cruise version. War of the Worlds, that's it. Not the new Tom Cruise version, but the old one where when the alien shot you, you disintegrate. It's a standard trope with aliens because it was honestly easier to do no bodies and just a little dust on screen, so they went with that. But this, with the green effect, the particle effect, the disintegration, it's a standard, terrifying alien effect. And you kind of knew this is what Necrons did, but showing it here, showing the brutality, showing just how horrific it is, and taking out of a 3-minute video multiple seconds to show the disintegration of matter, not just the body, but just the items itself. Every single aspect of it is infected by the energy. It is terrifying. And up to this point, you don't see the Necrons. You see the effect of the Necrons. Why this is good isn't just because it shows what the ravages of a normal, standard shot by a Necron does. It doesn't just build up it. It does this. It moves on, and you see a reaction. Just look at that. There's an overwhelming amount of oh shit, oh shit, oh shit that's terrifying. Just focusing on that is a very human thing, not just because it focuses on the terror, but because it shows you why you should be afraid, and then it shows you someone being afraid. This is something humans have empathy for. When you see fear, you understand it. When you see someone else feeling fear, you start to feel it as a sympathetic reaction. This is a beautifully designed section because it builds up the Necrons. You haven't seen them, which actually makes them more terrifying. Because the unknown enemy lets your mind exaggerate what you think. So if you think something's good, you become excited for it. When you think something's scary, that monster in the dark, that unknown enemy, and all you see is the fact that they are horrific in their outcomes, that becomes scary. It makes the enemy scarier. It builds them up. This just those two little interactions, just these two sections, the frames even. Seeing the horror of what a normal Necron shot does, and then seeing someone else reacting to the horror, that builds up the Necron better than anything else. Sure, the entire trailer is not in their point of view. They're the bad guys. They're barely in it even. They're visible only at the end. But right now, as that silent, faceless enemy where you only see their victims and the horror of the survivors. Within a few seconds, Games Workshop in this entire trailer, it made the Necrons that monster in the dark, that horrifying force that they haven't been, but they very well should be, as that massive eldritch abomination of ancient horror and terror and power that they should and justifiably be. This did it perfectly. Also, they went for a beautiful female face in general. Like, yeah, there's a few little cuts a bit, but no, it's a beautiful female face. Because in general, every human generally empathizes more with a beautiful female face. It's kind of a standard thing, actually. Also, with male faces to a lesser extent. It's just something that is psychologically in there. I don't know why, I haven't dug that far into it, but it's something that you just generally find is a thing. Also, the slightly open mouth. I know what you're thinking, and no, actually not. It's one of the things you generally find that a parted mouth in a shot draws more attention. And that's across genders as well, which is weird. But a closed mouth shows a restrained emotion, where an open mouth usually implies a loosening of control, a heightening of emotion, a more focused on what you're seeing and sensing rather than physical control to keep your mouth closed. Because you actually have to think just a little bit on the back to hold your mouth closed constantly, because there's just a tiny little muscle involvement. When you're distracted, though, it goes away, which is why the trope of the jaw hitting the floor happens. Surprise loosens that control you subconsciously exert, and it stops. So when you see it open, it implies shock, it implies surprise. It's one of those facial cues that humans are programmed to notice. So showing the face that people would normally notice, showing the expression of fear, highlighting with an open mouth, that also builds it up. It's all great cues, which is a great way to lead into the sisters. Now, I already mentioned earlier on just the sisters, the fact that they're here, the fact that they're viable, the fact that they're being shown as compared to the regular guardsmen, showing the human level. Now we're showing a step up with the sisters in power armor and how they are defended by faith. We see all that, and that's beautiful. And here we see the Necron get shot down, showing just her ability to do that. And we see them just, here we go. Shot in the head, is taken down, the green energy. She's bowling through it. And then, of course, shambling forward, classic zombie, just dragging itself. That is, it adds to the aspect of horror. But this is also the first time we see it. The first time we see the face full on for more than a brief flash. And even this is a flash, but it's a short animation. This right here, it establishes them as being the monster, specifically in the zombie archetype, the skeletal archetype, that enemy that won't stay down, which is very much what the Necrons are. A lot of the time, though, they're shown, especially on the tabletop, as almost that glistening parade of metal in perfect unity, more machine than zombie, more than reanimation. It's less the horror and more the machination. This, though, because the first full-on shot, not just the one where they're being shot, but the image of them as a shambling monstrosity that won't stay down and attacking even though they can't walk, this right here, all of this, that is exactly the shot they need to establish how they're going to be treating Necrons. They are going to be the monster. They are going to be scary. They're living up to the associated hype from the previous sections. We've seen why they're scary. We've seen them as the monster in the dark. Now we're getting a monster to associate them with in common parlance. Because we've all seen this shot before. It's in every horror movie. It's in almost every variant of scary anything. The monster crawling forward. It is scary. We know it's scary because we've seen other media that shows it as being scary. Because they have the monster, because they have the Necrons doing that exact animation, that exact pose, that exact way of moving, doesn't matter if it's sped up. Doesn't matter if it doesn't look the same. We're going to associate it with it, and that adds to the overall effect of inhuman monstrosity. It's actually quite a good effect because it takes advantage of common understandings to achieve the effect they want, and that's just useful because it makes them have to do less to achieve an overall effect. Now let's see, moving on. This right here. The reveal of the... I'm going with almost a destroyer. I'm not even sure which model this is. I don't play Necrons, and no one around me does, oddly enough, except for a few people. This, though. This works because not only do we see the big step up from the Necrons, we see that someone we've already had established as strong, the sister, of course, someone who's been established to take down the regular rank and file who were scary, we see the next step up. If it's an escalation. This is good because it builds up the Necrons again. As you're going to see, I'm going to mention every step of the way, this actually does more to build up the Necrons as a credible threat than anything else. Yes, it shows the sisters being badass and showing aspects of faith. It shows the guard dying horribly, basically being the red shirts of 40K, which they are, but holding the line despite that, which is also impressive. It does all of this. It shows her running and fighting, and honestly, it seems hopeless. It shows her in horrible situations. And at every step, just watch this moment of fear where she sees she's been outflanked. She sees horrible things happening. And you don't see what happens next, just that she's like, oh, shit. Gonna have to skip forward a bit. And then it cuts ahead to this part. You see the damage. You see she's alive. Because of this, you know she won, but at cost. It doesn't degrade anything that just happened. Specifically because, even though you know she had to have beaten that extra flanker, or at least to have escaped, you didn't see her beat anyone yet. Not the big guy specifically. He dies, of course, when the Space Marines jump in. But this right here, all of it builds them up as a credible threat, because she had to seek refuge in a church. It's the common sanctuary trope, having to seek refuge from the outside, from the dark, from the monster, or in this case, the Xeno. It all builds up the Necrons. So far, in less than just a minute and 7 seconds, where we're at right now, it's built up the Necrons as scary. It's associated them with a previous trope. It's shown that they can be fought, but by superhuman soldiers, which technically I think under power armor and with magical faith abilities, the sisters would count as. Their stronger, bigger units are still a scary threat that must be feared and fought and run from on your own. It builds up the threat. It builds up how much the Necrons need to be opposed because it makes them scarier. Now, of course, this is sort of degraded whenever you get to this part right here. Right there. And it looks obviously beautiful. But they're also, at this point, switching who they're building up. Every step before this, they were building up the Necrons, and then the sisters, then the Necrons again. Here, they switch to the Space Marines because it's a last-minute heroic intervention. It's a moment of badass, and honestly, it looks really cool because chainsaw. Now, the chainsaw is very much the intentional weapon choice rather than a thunder hammer or a power sword or a bolter. The introduction of a chainsword, an iconic weapon, and because they're putting out the new assault intercessors with chainswords. So it makes sense that this is the weapon they show, because it builds the hype. This is actually more of a marketing ploy right here. Also, it works because it's really well done because it looks cool. Oddly enough, it's a full-on chainsaw rather than chainsword because they have the top exposed too. You don't usually see that on the tabletop. It's usually one-sided rather than two. Yeah, just one of those little unique things I've noticed. Oh, never mind. Nah, it was just the image. It's covered on the top as well. Yeah. We've seen him built up, and now we see him being taken down. And from the rest of it, we switch off narrators at this point to the Space Marines. And yeah, they're justifiably really freaking awesome. We got the armor, we got the helmet, basic Ultramarine look, very standard, very much the poster boys of the Imperium. It's, from here on out, this is actually very much exactly what you expect. It looks awesome. I'm completely looking for the new set because I can do a storm shield with a skeleton on it. That's my own personal thing. I love how they're basically showing off the Space Marines. But they're all exactly what you expect. They're all gruff. They're all tough. They're running into the unbeatable odds, but they're going to fight because they're the angels of the Emperor, as said by the sister. And yeah, some of them die pretty horribly. You see the Storm Shield being freaking insanely awesome because Storm Shields are bullshit and I love them. And it's awesome. Oh, he has a metal eye. Just noticed that. Oh, missed that detail. But even here, right now, we got the Primaris running in with chainswords. Just going to point that out right there. Yeah, they're showing the new models they're selling in the trailer. Yeah. And we finally get to see a really good image of the Necrons up close. Just showing them as the Horde, standing there, taking it, and ignoring the damage. But we also see that from them as well. They're running in, though. They're being more active, which is more of them charging into the fray. At least now that they have chainswords, as opposed to before where it didn't work that way in Ultramarines. Yeah, this is just a general way to show the two sides here. This doesn't really have much impact overall, other than just show off certain cool aspects, such as chain swords are back because of that, and that they now have that freaking awesome storm shield. I want it. If it's not a model, I'll actually be a bit disappointed. Yeah. This, though, he jumps back in. There's another one showing that there's another threat who's very much a problem. It's not an escalation at this point, but showing that the stakes haven't been lowered. It's still just as dangerous. What does get impressive, though, is the last escalation. Right as the rest of the troops come in. It's no longer one-on-one anymore, which the previous ones were. It was Saurita, then it was the one Space Marine. Now it's the army of one side against the army of the other. They've escalated to having extra troops. They have reinforcements. And then this happens. Let's see if I can pull it up exactly. Right when it looks like they're about to win the battle because they've started to gun them down, they're working together, they're fighting back to back. Very classic heroic tropes. Let's see. And again, freaking chainsword, man. This is beautiful. Not just because it's honestly really freaking cool looking. It is. But it's bigger, it's stronger. It has that weapon that you already knew was strong because you saw it as being effective and wielded by an enemy you were shown to fear. But because it has these giant claws, it has more, it's built up, it has this, I don't even know what that's called because I don't play Necrons, it's my own fault. Very tempting now though. First, your eye's drawn to this, you recognize it. You see he's bigger, you see he's towering over the two people you have come to empathize with from the previous aspects. Then your eye will be drawn to this because it's glowing, so it's brighter, you'll see it. And you see, ooh, big gun, looks like claws, and that is bigger than them, at least in the portrayal of the size. And then you come over here, and there's a claw with freaking knife hands that are bigger than a person, and that's honestly terrifying because, yeah, you run into this in a dark alley, and you won't be regretting it for long. And overall, that's just another escalation. It shows that even though they were able to withstand the tide so far, the tide is escalating. They're just at the beginning of it. It's the classic build-up. 3 levels. We got the base level, the mid-boss, and now we hit the boss. And the last section is them just looking at it. You can't really see much emotion because Space Marine helmet. Easier without the helmet, but honestly, good for him for actually wearing it for once. And her, just that little moment of, still bloody, still wounded, has the power sword out. Love that it's useful on a power sword. Yeah. And then they just charge in. Yeah, that last moment. And you can tell what they're doing here. They're showing the human level, but still viable troop, and the Space Marine level Ultramarines because they're the most profitable. Honestly, they're showing what are probably, as of the last few years, their most profitable lines. Space Marines because everyone buys them, and Sororitas because their re-release was incredibly profitable. This is as much an ad as it is a trailer for the next edition. Specifically, it's showing off the new models, the Necrons and the melee intercessors. It's showing off the sisters who, even though they came out previously last year, last year now, and much of this year. Technically, it came out at the end of 2019, so I'm going to count it as last year. It's iffy on that one. They've only been out for a few months. 5 months. Okay, almost half. They've been out for half a year, basically. But it was a massively popular and profitable re-release, so they were definitely included in the trailer. What's interesting, though, is they're profitable. This is probably one of the few times GW has taken something that's not vanilla Space Marines and they've included it on a major showcase. Not just because they haven't before, usually there's some variation, and they're still there, but all the screen time wasn't dedicated to the thing that makes them the most money, which would imply that they're actually slowly able to branch out because other things were making more money. Now, it's still Imperium, it's still Power Armor, and honestly, if they had a head version of this in their models, it wouldn't look nearly this humane. It would look more like their usual headless version where it's like, oh, who melted that thing in before they shipped it out? GW female heads are terrifyingly bad. Male heads too, but their heads all look slightly off, personal opinion. This is interesting because it's showcasing three aspects. Necrons, because they're what they're going to push. Ultramarines, specifically Space Marines in general, because it's what always makes them the most money. Sisters, though, because they're shown, because they're there, they're putting it in because it makes them money. And that's something they recognize, and they're branching out because it is making them money. And that's what this entire thing is. It's showing what is the most profitable, what they're going to make money on, what they're trying to keep going, and what they want to make money on. Ultramarines always sell, specifically Space Marines. Sisters are a surprise to them, honestly, because if they had known they would make money, they would have done it literally over a decade ago. Yeah. And Necrons, because they're going to be the new bad, they have to be hyped up. But the easiest way to hype up the new set, the Necrons, build up the fear, which this trailer did. Build up their size, which this trailer did. And show that boss level enemy, which they did. And they're showing the two most popular sections fighting against it. Honestly, if the box was Sisters and Space Marines versus Necrons, okay, one, that would literally be my perfect box because I play, two of the three factions I play are Space Marines and Sisters. The other one is Custodes. And I wouldn't get all three in a box because there's no Custode boxes other than Talents of the Emperor, and that hasn't... Yeah. But every step of the way, it's building up that third faction. This entire trailer has built up the Necrons. And they look cool. They look terrifying. They look scary. They look intimidating. They are shown to be effective. They are shown to have weapons of ungodly power and horror-inducing effects. They're not shown to be invincible, but they're shown to be that enemy that must be fought against. It's such a great reveal because it shows them as a viable threat and it builds them up. Every step has done more for the Necrons to show them as the villain, to show them as a viable threat. It's brilliant because of that. As you can tell, I'm very much okay with this. This entire trailer is brilliant. And I love it because they did narrative aspects that will have a viable effect on the game and their entire product going forward. I mean, the downside is... You know what? No, there's actually not a downside. This just worked well. Yeah, this just worked well. It did what it needed to. It had narrative effects. It showed emotion. It showed dynamics. It showed a change in how things were held from hopeless to some hope to, oh God, oh God, oh God, what's going on? To last minute hope, and now it's being dragged back again. It's going up and down, but escalating every step of the way, as a narrative should. And it did it in 3 minutes. This was well done. This is a great showpiece. It showcases all three factions. It shows unique elements about them. It's showing new elements about them. And it's showing escalation of models. Yeah. And specifically models, because everything's shown in here. I think, because I'm pretty sure this is actually one of the new models that is technically spoiled on the new Warhammer 40K website. I think. All of these are models you can get. So it works as a great advertisement because it shows what's coming. And it's just really good because of that. I like how this is done. I like what they're showing. I like how the narrative is being handled. And it's not ham-fisted either. This could be a generic battle on the backworlds. It could be nothing or it could be everything. But it doesn't matter because we're seeing that human emotion in a fall in just a few moments extrapolated through escalating circumstances. But because we have that initial human contact, that initial fear, that initial human reaction, it builds off this. If they had started with the Space Marines, like right about here, yeah, that's cool. But Space Marines work best when you know that they're the best. When you are shown that they are above what normally is humanly possible. If they're just like, oh, hey, here's our base level grunts. No. Because that's never how you should look at them. It destroys their narrative weight. I mean, functionally, yes, that's accurate. But narratively, and in a lot of the aspects that give them credence and weight and gravitas. Ooh, fancy word, I'm going to like that. Yeah, this is what they need. They need to be shown as the escalation on humanity's side. The avenging angels, as the Sororitas put it. That is what they need. And they showed it. Sure, it means less screen time. But the ending effect is that you respect them as a force more. So when there's a further escalation to Primarch level even, there's further weight. It doesn't cheapen bringing in the equivalent of a tactical nuke to the battlefield. Because these guys on their own right are an escalation. And it's beautifully done. This entire trailer handled that well. Easy to screw this up. All they had to do is skip ahead, jump straight to the Space Marines, and yeah, it would still look cool, but there wouldn't be as much weight because like, oh, hey, Space Marines shooting these guys, and they're just kind of killing each other. Cool. Here, though, no. This is payback. This is them dropping in for a heroic intervention. That little change in context is important because it adds weight. Also, it makes you more likely to empathize with them or really to think the enemy's really cool because they're able to push them, that they're worth fighting against. And it hypes up both models. It's great. Honestly, the only thing I would like more is if they had a random Celestine intervention. I mean, it would make sense and it would break the narrative flow and it would also be way more of an escalation that they couldn't really escalate over without bringing in a lot more things. So it would be terrible. I just like that because I'd like to see Celestine animated. Yeah, it's a stupid reason, but it's mine and I'll stick to it. All right, that is my breakdown of the trailer. As you can see, I like their narrative utility in getting their point across. I've really enjoyed how they did, and I think they did it quite admirably. So yeah, if you enjoy that, don't forget, link below to the original video. Because I'm going to put a link to the trailer video because it was just masterfully done. Not on par with Astartes, but Astartes is... If you haven't seen the first few parts of Astartes' video series, also called Astartes, go watch them. He did a masterful job of some incredible animation. But he's freakishly good. No human should be held to his level. No team should be held to his level because he did what a team could do on his own. But this alone, as an official product, perfectly encapsulates what it needed to do. It showed it well. It showed it with gravity. It built up all sides involved, and it didn't cheapen the experience. So yeah, it worked well. And if you haven't, again, link below. Hit it up. I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios. Now, for everyone who stuck around, I'm just going to answer questions because it'd be weird if I did a live stream without talking to anyone. I'll just cut this out at the end, unless I decide not to. So where was I? Cool. All right, once I was going to pull up the chat, pop out the chat. Whoa, there's a lot of people watching. Don't forget the like button, guys. Yee. All right. In fact, I'm even going to switch this over so you can see that I'm talking to you. I'm going to do that. I'm a guy. I'm going to do a thing. I'm going to do the thing, guys. Ooh, yay. Button. I just realized, oh, will you still be able to read it? Oh, that'd be weird if I didn't. Yeah, pull this up here, pull that there, make it bigger so I can actually see it. Heh, button. I press button. I'm easily amused. Oh, wait, that doesn't work. I'm trying to get an image of what it looks like. That looks good enough. All right, so let's see what we got here. Just going to drop down here, and GWX Wokehammer. Azrael? I wouldn't really go with that. They're still doing their old stuff, but, you know, showing more female just works because it's a more demographic. I think this is more about monetization than anything else, because corporation. Got to be a warlord? Temporary alien? I hope so, because if that's a warlord for the Necrons, I mean, I always kind of was tempted because I actually liked that regimented Legion aspect of the Necron models. If anything, the more horror aspects are degrading it for me. But some of their bigger models now are so freaking cool looking. The Silent King possible model they released is... I mean, the guy has a Catan shard on his throne as a battery. WTF, man. That's beautiful. Lord Inquisitor, you want to know when part 2 of the Reading Sonic fan fiction is coming out? What? No. And George Madison, what? Marsden, why am I tagging? Oh, crap, why am I tagging? I have no idea what you're talking about. It's not like I reuse my settings and I have no idea what you're talking about. I definitely didn't accidentally forget that I had previous tags from when this was a Final Fantasy VII live stream. Or anything like that. I definitely wouldn't do that and edit it on stream because I'm going to edit this out and no one will see any evidence of it. Yeah, because I definitely didn't forget to do that in advance and forget for a freaking half hour. Yeah, you saw no evidence of that because I will definitely remember to edit that out. Yeah. And Sebastian, yeah, I think that was a Silent King who they teased, but if it's not, it's someone who looks so damn cool. It's more tempting to get into Necrons than it should be because their new sculpts they're freaking beautiful, man. They're terrifying, but unbearably cool. Oh, and Nicholas, you're a Necron player and you can't wait for the new models. I'm not even a Necron player and I'm excited for them. Yeah, dude. Griffin of Might. So did I read the Sonic and Zelda fanfiction your friend wrote? No, actually I didn't. I know people gave me a lot of fanfiction links recently, but after the Sonic fanfiction I read on stream, no lemon pledge. That stream hurt. Also, just realized I have no idea where my phone is. Whatever. and oh, you filmed that Ashen one. I have no idea what you're talking about. I definitely didn't edit something because I forgot it during the stream. I have no idea what you're talking about. And Ezra, that could have been Imhotep. Honestly, if that was only Imhotep, which honestly is a terrible word to use, that would actually excite me more because when the Silent King finally gets a model, if it's even more epic, that would be freaking cool. And yeah, Lord Inquisitor, if the box set is Space Marines versus Necrons, if it's the images shown on the new Warhammer 40K site, there's actually someone in my local area who's looking to split a box. He wants Necrons. I obviously want Imperium. Definitely going to take it right off the bat because that's freaking cool. Also, just jumping back into some of the previous comments, looks like the first comment was Daniel B. Sup, man? Then was Marcos Routh, the Nobu Emperor, yeah. Balagorn, Anthony Mash, Jake Wu, for the Emperor, sup. Paragamer, sup, man? Diehard, good name. Marcos, Griffin of Might. Oh, God, there's a lot of people who are here today. Sotha Sil, I get that reference. Elder Scrolls reference, yay! And yeah, the warp, if you believe in something hard enough, it becomes real. That basically is a thing. Actually, I'm kind of working on putting together a Warhammer 40K warp breakdown because I think there's a few things about the warp that people haven't really realized. It's one of those things where it's a lot more complex. Like, people are sort of aware of what it can do, but they mostly stop at Chaos Gods as the extent of it. But the warp is way more complex and honestly disturbing than even the Chaos Gods. And it's just one of those things I want to do an entire video breaking down just because it seems to be something a lot of people are only partially aware of and don't realize the implications of. And I really want to talk about it. Seriously, there's some implications of how things have interacted with the warp in canon that people talk about frequently and cite, but if you just stop to think about what it means, you realize just how screwed up that is and just how much bigger the warp is than even what we're used to thinking about it as in 40K. Ooh. Nicholas, you did a conversion of Trajan Valoris into Kitten? Considering they're using Trajan Valoris' armor as Kitten's newest form in TTS, that makes sense. All you really need is a good paint job for the feather, which is already there, and a warden's head. It actually wouldn't even be a hard conversion, unless you went for an actual cat head, in which case I think I have seen people do 3D printed files of that, so that would be a thing. And it sounds like Pretty Guardian just arrived, so I'm going to have to end this one here, guys. Because Awesome Girlfriend is awesome. We're about to go have a maybe a bit of a party watching a lot of Ghibli films today. Hell yeah. Also, let's see if I can get this name right. Silveron, sup. Lucas Vallis, sup. Sebastian Simonson. Probably butcher your name. Sorry about that. Azrael the First. Inceptor Gamer. Mobius Zero. Not too much, just the entire stream. I'm about to end it here. And Angel Rect. I probably butcher your name. It's me, so I do it all the time. And Silverton, how am I? Much better than yesterday. Food poisoning. Very unpleasant. So for everyone watching, thanks, guys. I'm going to probably do more streams like this if this does well. And if you do want to see what the entire warp video will look like, hit me up in the comments below because, well, live stream will be disabled as soon as I stop. So for everyone, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.
Put me in your belly
Fuck.
button.
Shit, love. Pretty guardian, you troll. Ah, love you, dear.
You too.
Oh, God. Adios, everyone.